All right, hot take time. You don't need a backpack full of lenses to shoot professional level video and photos. You just need 2 lenses. Yes, you heard me right, 2 lenses. And specifically, especially if you're a YouTuber or an on-the-go video shooter, you can get away with these 2 lenses for pretty much everything. And photography, I mean, one of them is just a game changer. If you are on a budget, keep in mind at the end of the video, I'm gonna go over some budget options for these 2 because these 2 lenses aren't exactly the cheapest, but they will get you through any situation with just these 2 lenses, and there are alternative lenses that are budget. Now let's start with this big boy, the 16-35 G Master, not the version 2, but the version 1. I mean, you could get the version 2 for this, but for today's purposes, I'm going over the 1, and you'll see why too. The 1 starts at 35, is as low as it goes, and as you zoom out and get wider, it protrudes a little bit. Now, I actually kind of like this a lot because when I'm vlogging with this lens, I don't typically use a tripod. I just kind of let it sit. It sits perfectly there with like a finger or your thumb, and you can just kind of hold it out by the lens, and it actually works out really well. This lens is incredibly versatile. At 16mm, you get that epic wide angle, perfect for landscapes, architectural, vlogging, without a GoPro or fisheye distortion. Plus, you can push it right into 35mm, and now you're getting into storytelling territory, perfect for handheld B-roll, talking head, even documentary work. And you know, my favorite focal length is right at 24mm, which is what I'm shooting on right now, the 24mm prime. Now let's talk image quality. It's sharp, corner to corner, even wide open. Autofocus is quick, silent, reliable, and the colors, they just pop. I've used other lenses like the Tamrons, and they are a little bit warmer, where I feel like the Sonys, ever since I switched to a G Masters for my primary lenses, I feel like I'm getting more truer colors and just like a more of a flat response, better for color grading and all that stuff. But not that the Tamrons were bad looking, I just feel like there's a little bit extra oomph from these Sony lenses, which you should because you're paying a pretty premium for these. This lens, there is a secret though, so stay tuned and I will get to that at the end of the video. This lens just lives on my camera though while I'm running and gunning doing video work. It's light enough to put on a gimbal and to vlog with, and it's flexible enough to then shoot an entire short film or, you know, YouTube video or client work. It's just, when I'm shooting video, anything in the 16 to 35 range is where I typically am at. But there's just those extra times where you might need a little bit more oomph. And I honestly skip right over the 50mm because if I need to, I can jump right to this 70 to 200 GM2. This is what I call beast mode lens. And ever since my wife bought me this lens...
Do you like it?
Do I like it? I love it.
You always say that when you have a lens.
She's that awesome, I know. This thing has been living on my camera. It does have the little mount that goes here, but it's so light. It's just a little bit bigger of a lens, but it's so light that I don't really feel like I need this little extra collar thing, and I just attach it to my camera and put my camera on a tripod, and it's perfectly fine. But most of the time, I'm just hand-holding and walking around with this beast. If you want to increase your images to be just absolutely stunning, this is a lens to put on it. The bokeh that this thing puts on your images for portraits is amazing. And I have no problems carrying this around with my kid. And funny enough, I use this with the ZV-E10 Mark II, an APS-C camera. This thing looks so ridiculous almost on such a small body, but I don't care because the images out of this thing are so good. And I used to hate shooting on telephoto lenses. Like, anything super zoomed in, I felt like I had backup too much. But with this thing, for some reason, the magic that comes out of this thing, I can't take it off. And between the 16 to 35 and this thing, I feel like these two lenses cover the entire spectrum from wide and then to telephoto, because 50 millimeters, if I need to get 50 millimeters, I can use APS-C crop mode on this 35, get the 50 millimeters, and between 50 and 70, I mean, there's not a huge difference to me. I'll just jump right to 70 and have the whole range. So between these two lenses, I feel like you can really do anything, and I wish I kind of knew this when I was starting out, because right now, when I want to pack light and easy, I just throw these two lenses in my bag and I'm done, because I got the whole spectrum covered between video and landscape shots, and then just beautiful portraits with this thing. Now, telephoto, this thing is the king, like I said, and this lens for cinematic compression and buttery portraits and isolating your subject, whether you're filming a wedding, shooting wildlife, grabbing that emotional over-the-shoulder at 135 millimeter, this lens is just pure magic. One thing I love about this is that zoom is all internal, but see, look, you just turn it a little bit and it just goes all the way from 70 to 200 in that just a slight wrist turn. And what surprised me is this thing is really light for its size. You'd think it is a tank, but it's really light. And the Mark II is the way to go over the Mark I all day long, unlike the 16 to 35 where you don't see that much of a difference jumping up to the Mark II. The Mark II on this thing is well worth it. Don't even look at the Mark I anymore. Ignore it on the used market, because this thing is fast, razor sharp, and handles video so well for stabilization and autofocus. This thing is a king when it comes to fast autofocus. This lens is what I reach for when I want to make a subject just pop. It doubles beautifully as a photography workhorse, and honestly, it pairs with this 16 to 35, and between these two, there's nothing you can't even shoot, like I said. Yes, these lenses are pretty expensive. This lens is $2,800, and honestly, if you can't afford this one, there's a few other options that we'll get to, but this one is really not terrible. When you're looking at the 16 to 35, this lens on the used, I've got this thing used. It looked brand spanking new for $1,000 on the used market. Now, when you compare this to something like a Sigma 16 to 28 or the Tamron 17 to 28, you're getting more focal ranges out of this thing than you are with those, and those are around $800 each. Now, of course, you can salvage the used market for deals like $500 to $600, but I would rather put in the extra money, get more focal range, get that beautiful 16 millimeter wide, and you get this beast. And it's really not heavy. I mean, I guess it's heavy for today's standards and what's out now, but like I said, it sits wonderfully on the finger like this. So instead of the 16 to 35 millimeter GM, you can check out the Tamron 17 to 28. It's a smaller and cheaper, and it's fantastic for video, but there's also the Sigma 16 to 28, and I did a video on that. You can check it out up here. I compared the Tamron versus the Sigma, and honestly, I would just go for whatever one fits in your budget, whatever you find the best deal if you're going between those two lenses, or if you just I personally love to have that 16 millimeter, so I probably would just cave in and spend the extra cash on the Sigma to get that extra millimeter out of it. But like I said, you can get this GM lens used for $1,000. So spend a few $100s more, especially if you're buying brand new, and just find yourself a good solid used copy of this GM Mark I lens. Or if you want to save a buck versus the version 2 and you have to buy new, you can buy this one brand new and it's still going to save you some money. If you're thinking about the 35 to 70 range, honestly, with high resolution cameras like the A7 IV and the A7 V, you can just crop in or take a few steps forward. So I just feel like that range is not needed. I know, this is the one that's really hard to afford, and that is the 70 to 200 Mark II. It's Sony's beast and it's super sharp. But if you're really wanting to get this lens, I strongly suggest that you stay in the Sony system and you get the 70-200 f4. It's lighter, it's still sharp, and it's half the price of this lens. Another great option if you are looking for lighter and you still want that 2.8, Tamron does make a 70-180 lens. Now you're not gonna get all the way to 200 millimeters with that, and you're gonna be sacrificing on some image stabilization and just the pure fast autofocus of this thing or the f4, but you are gonna be able to get a good deal on that, and it's a fairly light lens and it's really great. So it's a good starter lens, especially if you want to see if this focal range will work out for you. You know, the worst thing that can happen to you is you go out and spend a ton of money on this 70-200 GM2 and you find out that it's not really for you. So I always suggest that people at least rent the lens beforehand if they've never shot with it, find a buddy that has one, or just start with a cheaper budget option, and then if you find that you use that lens a lot and are frequently using it, and you can find that maybe it's worth it for you to upgrade. But you don't have to buy everything top tier to create top tier content. But if you can invest in just 2 pro lenses, that will last you for years. And these 2 G Masters are the 2 for me. You really can't go wrong when you have both of these inside your camera bag. Whether you're shooting cinematic videos, YouTube videos, client work, travel, or even just family stuff, these 2 lenses will cover 90% of whatever you will need. Those are my suggestions for 2 lenses. And if this video helped you with your next lens choice, hit that like button and let me know, which one do you choose? Which lenses are your go-to lenses? I'd love to hear what everyone else is using and hear what your opinions are. So, you know, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and you guys know that I will see you in the future. I want this. Bye-bye.